Welcome back to the podcast, Risen King. Glad to have you guys here. We have Brianne with us today, and Bri is new to the Risen King team. So, Bri.
Yes.
How has your first month of work at Risen King been?
Overwhelming.
Yes.
In the best way possible. It's been great. It's been great. Going from being a stay-at-home mom to working is the transition.
Oh, it's this huge shift.
Yeah, but it's good.
So what are you doing for Risen King?
Administrative assistant.
We have a lot of, if you haven't caught on around here, we have a lot of titles that kind of just catch all of the buckets. Yes. So
there's a lot encompassed in that.
In that one word, there's a lot. Bri is who is overseeing all of our home group stuff. So if you guys have been looking at home groups, hosting a home group, getting excited about home groups, maybe emailing us, asking about it, then Bri is the one who's been taking care of all of that. So we can just give a little insert hand clap applause for Bri. In her first 3 weeks of work, she has basically was onboarded, and then we said, here's home groups. Yes. So she has crushed it. We're super excited to have her part of the team. What is one of your favorite things about, because you're coming from a big transition now from having been stay-at-home mom, you have 2 kids. So you've been kind of more focused on stay-at-home for 2 years now?
Yeah, I worked part-time before I had my second.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And so what's your favorite part about now getting to get out of the house?
Adult conversations, yes. Not with the 3-year-old. So that's great. I can use grown-up words.
Yeah. I can have real conversations now. This is true.
Yes.
One of my favorite parts about Bri being part of the team is the visits that we do get from the kids. So except for, I don't know how much Chris likes it, because last time that the kids came into the office, I did color all of them with Sharpie highlighter.
Yes.
Out of necessity, sheer necessity, because we needed to be able to have not screaming children. And so I tattooed them kind of all with Sharpie, and then
it lasted a good week, but it was good.
I thought because it was highlighter, it would just wash off.
Yeah.
But
it's okay. It eventually did.
Yeah. I mean, it had their names on them, so I feel like they were just branded. Now they can know someday, they'll know where their desire to have tattoos came from.
Yeah. They get tattoos like mommy and daddy.
But yeah, it's been super fun. Bri, me, and Alice are kind of the main ones in the office nowadays. So it's really nice having adult females just getting to hang out with. We were saying the other day, because both our husbands, Colin and Chris, both work really late shifts. And so we're saying we actually now at this point see more of each other than we do of our husbands. So fun fact, me and Bri were friends before we were coworkers. And so this is really just...
We have to cut our chit-chat.
We really do have to cut our chit-chat time at work. So then we just schedule her to do the podcast so that we can keep our chit-chat times and it's appropriate. Yeah, so there we go. But we had kind of a big topic that we talked about this week at church. We're kind of talking about faith, what it's like to be maybe in a waiting season with the Lord, kind of believing for a promise that he's given you. We're jumping in from our Hey Church series, jumping into Romans now. And Romans, Paul talks a lot about faith, using Abraham as an example. And so I kind of dove deep into that this week. So a little bit more of a vulnerable conversation. I think a lot of people, most of us have things that we can relate to waiting for or hoping for or believing for with the Lord. And so I think it can be, not all of our, waiting seasons are short. Yeah. And so I think a lot of us can kind of relate to the ups and downs that come with that. But you're somebody who's kind of had different promises from the Lord that now you're on the other side of, after a long waiting season, kind of living in that fulfilled promise. So what were some of the main takeaways that you kind of had from the message Sunday?
One of the things you said, and it's funny, you said it exactly the way Chris says it, that faith is an action. Mm-hmm. And that's something that he and I have talked about for so long, since before we were together. when we would talk about our relationship with the Lord. It's like faith is an action. It's not just some mystical thing that you can think about or whatever and feel. It's an action. And so that always really stuck out with me. But yeah, I don't know. That's one of the biggest things, because Chris and I have always talked about that, and it means a lot. And it's not something that I think everyone thinks about when they think about faith.
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing that I was, as I was even diving into faith and belief and all of that, I'm like, I think so often we think of faith as a word to encompass like, oh, somebody that has a religion, like, oh, they have faith in this thing, which is, true. But I think realizing, oh, it's not just like a passive thing, like, oh, this is my religion. It's actually this is part of actually having an active relationship with God. And the way that we actually respond to the Lord when he's giving us a promise, like our response is actually to respond in faith. And I think even for me, I was like, oh man, it's even a kick in my pants to be like, okay, this is what it looks like to believe, and not just to sit and wait, but actually how do I partner with this promise? Yeah. So what are some things, you can be kind of as vague or as, detailed as you want to be, but kind of sharing about your waiting season. We were kind of talking about it over this week, and kind of some of the promises that the Lord's given you and what you kind of learned on that waiting journey. What are some of those takeaways for you?
Well, I was one of the kids, when you're younger and everyone's like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And everyone's like, an astronaut, a doctor, a dancer, whatever. I never had an answer other than I want to be a mom. That was it. And I could never come up with an answer. I eventually came up with one because music is just my life, and I grew up in a musical family. So I was like, okay, I'll be a singer. And I I've never actually really told anyone, but I always was really happy to choose singer-songwriter as my goal, because it felt so unattainable that I was like, okay, then my fallback will be being a mom and a wife, which is actually what I really wanted. So I'm not mad, And so that was always my thing. And I always wanted to be a mom. Baby was one of my first words. I would pretend I was a mom to my little baby dolls. My mom said I used to nurse my baby dolls. But that was all I ever really wanted to be. And my parents were young parents, and I saw that all around me. And I just really wanted to do that younger, so that way I could have more time with my kids, be able to keep up with my grandkids and all that. And I just found myself really, really lost in my late teens and early 20s. And I felt so defeated that I hadn't achieved that yet, or the Lord hadn't given me my husband yet, or anything by the time I was 21, which sounds ridiculous. And I know that.
Hey, you had a timeline.
I full on had a timeline. I was going to get married at 21 and have kids by 23, I had this planned out.
I think so many of us do. Have timelines in our head of this is how we want this to go.
Yeah, totally. And it's I never thought that was wrong. I didn't see a flaw in my plan. Except for the man. And so it was I remember I was in a really bad relationship in my early 20s, and I decided to come back to Risen King because I had gone as a teenager and younger. And I came back, and it was just it felt like the Lord was calling me home, and I just couldn't escape that feeling. So the next month I got my own apartment. The month after that, broke off the relationship and fully rededicated my life to the Lord, and really tried to walk in what he was calling me to, and trying to understand that promise that I knew he had for me of being a mother and being a wife. And it took me a long time. I thought I was doing all the right steps. I thought that I was doing, the right thing as a Christian. But over the years, I realized that my gaze was fixed on men, trying to get the promise fulfilled by a man, and seeking attention from the man to get me the kids. I didn't have my priorities straight, obviously, and I wasn't looking to the Lord first. And I remember the shift happening when that clicked in my head. I remember sitting in my apartment living room and just having it click, because the guy that I thought was gonna be it lived across the way, and I was looking out at his door, and I was just like, what am I doing? this is not it. That's not right. I am not fixed on the Lord. I'm not looking to him. I'm not looking to his heart. I'm looking to a man's heart to fulfill me, to make me feel loved, to make me feel deserving. And I was just like, when I realized that my thought process and my heart posture was just so out of alignment, it just all clicked. And not a few months later, the Lord really changed how I looked at Chris, because I had known him for years and we had been friends, and I turned him down because I didn't think that that was what the Lord had promised for me, because in my head it was just a skewed view of what I thought the promise was. And it just goes to show that like how we were talking about, your equity in your relationship with the Lord, and like building in that trust with him, and him like in me, like I wasn't ready. I don't think, for the promise that he had for me. I don't think if I had forced something to happen, it would have been like this anointed that like our marriage is right now, and our family is, like, not in like a cocky way or anything, but Chris and I's marriage is anointed, and we have a lot that pours out from us because of our relationship with the Lord and our constant pursuit of him first. And yeah, it was just, once I fixed my gaze on him instead of on men, like it really felt like he gave me my promise, that I was like ready for the promise that he had given me.
That's so good. I mean, we like, fun fact, so where my husband and I and Chris and Bree met was actually when we were doing grow teams a few months back, and we were both in a marriage grow team, and that's where we kind of first started to get to know each other and connect. And it was so evident throughout that class. Like, it'd be so funny because I feel like whenever it'd get to you and Chris, y'all are just like, yeah, we're great. Like, it was always like, yeah, no, we're just so good. And not in like a naive way, like we're ignoring our problems, like genuinely just the relationship that you do have in your marriage. Like it is a really beautiful thing to see. And I think it's such a beautiful example of really what it looks like when two people pursue God first, and how that blesses a relationship. And that's something I've really seen with you guys. Like you have such priority in your individual and together relationship with the Lord, and just the way that has affected your family and your marriage and your relationships. And it's so true, thinking through, like, I think so many of us, we've even, maybe if you're out there and you're believing for, a partner, maybe you're in kind of your single moment, like it's so easy to have what we think is the right thing, the right fit, what we think is the fulfillment of the promise. I think one of the cool things about kind of going through a waiting season and coming out on the other side is often we see, this isn't what I thought it was going to look like, but it is better. And so that builds that trust with the Lord. And it's kind of like what, a couple weeks ago, Cole was preaching, and he was talking about, don't grow weary in doing good. And kind of, it was ending the service with this idea of like, we can ask God for the thing, and he can give it to us right then, but he can give it to us when it's a seed, or he can give it to us when it is a full fruit tree. He can give it to you when it's like, hey, I can give it to you now, but you're actually not ready for it. So the impact is going to be a lot less than if you allow me to wait until you're ready. When I give it to you, this is going to be one of the biggest gifts that you can receive. And so realizing that is actually, a waiting season isn't God's cruelness, it's actually God's kindness. And it actually just makes the promise even better.
I mean, Chris, like, he lives by faith as an action, and he straight up told me he wasn't going to propose until I went through inner healing and deliverance and worked on my stuff and pursued the Lord deeper. And, I really had a lot of depth to go through, because in the moment, like after we started, dating, I wasn't pursuing it as hard, and I wasn't going after his heart as hard for some reason. And he called me higher. He pushed me to grow. And that was a big faith step for him, because he's like, she could just dip and not want to do the work, but we both knew that what the promise the Lord had for us.
Yeah. I think it kind of comes back to that saying that, you've probably heard us say multiple times, is that like you become what you behold. And so actually what happens when you fix your gaze, or another way to say that is what you focus on, what you really begin to prioritize and focus on. When you fix that on the Lord and you focus on the Lord and your relationship with the Lord, how that actually bleeds into a lot of other areas of your life. And so I love kind of what you're saying is like once you actually prioritized your relationship with God, then everything else fell into place. Yeah. And so it's really beautiful, because your biggest gift that you got in that wasn't even Chris, but it was the relationship that you now have with the Lord. Yeah. So yeah, that's so beautiful. I love that. Well, thanks for coming on here and sharing that. Here, you just like vulnerably shared your story. So
sorry, it's a little chatty, but
a little chatty story. So yeah, I really appreciate that. I think that's such an encouragement that a lot of us can take, especially people that are in our waiting seasons. You kind of covered what a couple of those seasons might look like. Maybe you're waiting for a financial breakthrough, you're waiting for family, or you're waiting for a relationship, you're waiting for family reconciliation, whatever that could be. I think it's just such encouragement hearing just people who have kind of come through on the other side of that and are now getting to live in that promise. So thanks for sharing that. I love your story. Well, thanks, Rose and King, for coming along, praying and believing with every single one of you who are in your waiting seasons, who've reached out, who've shared your story. And just a reminder for you guys, like we said on Sunday, if you're somebody who is maybe feeling discouraged this week, or maybe feeling a little bit discouraged and believing for your promise, go find someone. Each other's stories like this, the testimonies of people coming through on the other side. Bree just shared her story. If you're somebody who's in that same season waiting, reach out. Have people that are on the other side that are praying for you. You don't have to do it alone. So we're praying for you guys, believing for you guys, and we will see you this Sunday. Don't forget, it's Sunday Social. We're going to have pony rides. We're going to have a dunk tank. We're going to have water slides. It's going to be a ton of fun. It'll be at the Risen King campus after that second service. So we will see you guys there. Bye.
Bye.